The story begins with a very desperate student called Widaya. Apparently he forgot to take that day's book, because he can't find it anywhere. The bell rings at 8 indicating that classes will begin. Then time stops, what was written on the blackboard disappears, and something strange begins to happen. The ghost of a woman appears and ended his life. It is said that in that school every morning at 7 o'clock, a message appears on the blackboard which is the name of some subject. If any student in the class doesn't manage to bring the book indicated on the blackboard, in a tragic way he will die, and will be erased from the memory of all the people on the planet. Here we know a boy named K, who uses an application called Links, which is like a social network where he can express himself freely. That's where he has friends who think like him, who is in charge of always arriving early to the classroom, and taking a photo of the blackboard with the written material, because there is a rumor that if they don't do it, the ghost will pull them by the paws. Later, the teacher takes the list, and when he calls Widaya, no one answers and they don't know who he is. He was the boy who died at the beginning, and the teacher doesn't remember him either. Then he asks another student to take the empty seat, and then he crosses off Widaya from the hard recess list. A boy named Newt tells his classmates that they should find out what is happening in that school. Is it true that there is a curse, and there is a ghost that takes away the students? What would happen if one day he wake up late, or forget to tell them? In reality, he chose here because he lives nearby, and besides, no one wants to wake up so early to get at 7 in the morning classes. I am fed up with being the chosen one and want to leave, so a classmate demands that he even get up earlier to let him know and try harder. A girl named Tan comes out to defend, and Newt likes her, but Tan is the bully's girl who just observes that something is brewing between them. The next day, he arrives early, but he didn't take the photo or send it to his classmates. This morning he wanted to take revenge because his classmates don't behave well with him. The other students asked him to send them the photo, but he preferred to have breakfast very quietly, until his friend writes to him. Then he runs to take the photo and send it to the group. When he sits down, he feels a strange presence in the room, and sees the ghost of a woman, but he pretends didn't see her. Later, during class he has some terrifying visions of the student who had died. Later, they complain to him for sending the photo late, and calmly settle down having breakfast. He says he's scared and doesn't want to be the one chosen to arrive early. He believes that in reality that strange things happen at that school. He tells his classmates that Widaya's name is already written on that seat and it's possible that it did exist, but no one remembers him. The bully doesn't believe him and says that he's just lying. Everyone pressures K to continue arriving early. At night, he enters the Links application where his friends also support him, and advise him that if he is not valued by his classmates he shouldn't care about them. The next morning, either he arrives very early at 6:30, and was alone in the unusual sun at school. Before entering his classroom, he makes a video call so that everyone in the group can see what is happening, and sends the subject for that day, which is mathematics. Suddenly, the ghost appears to him and attacks him, making him faint. Then he wakes up in the infirmary, and Tan was taking care of him, so she shows him the video where he was strangling himself. Kay starts to think that was very strange. While returning to the room, they meet a classmate named On, appears very scared, and tells them that he can't find his book of math, and today they are going to help him look properly. But the other classmates are very selfish and don't want to support him. However, he even leaves the classroom to look for and borrow a math book from other students, but unfortunately no one has it. While On goes to the library, the ghost appears. Then he returns scared to the living room. He is very sure that he had brought his book, and thinks that perhaps his companion stole it or hid it. The bully asks Tan if she likes him or if they already made out. She answers that if it is even more, she did it with everyone in the room to get rid of them, and of course also with him to make him fall in love with her, and use it in that way he would calmly agree to arrive early. On discovers that his best friend had stolen his book. What happened is that boy had left his math book in his father's car, and since he had no other alternative, he stole from someone who was his best friend. But what kind of best friend is that? At that moment, he comes here and gives a tremendous blow to On's best friend, because he was blaming him. Kay was about to fight with the bully, when suddenly the doorbell rings because 8 o'clock arrives, and On's best friend takes away his math book again. As On was the only one who was left without a book, the ghost chases him around the school. The next morning, we see that Kay the only student in the teacher's class, but what happened? It turns out that he had arrived early that day. He erased the subject from the blackboard, and sent the group an old photo from another course, making everyone carry the wrong book. He had heard the previous day's argument between Tan and Newt, and he took revenge on all his selfish classmates, including Tan because she had only used him. When it was time for the book review, the ghost appeared to create chaos in the living room, and gave them all a horrible death. In the end, we found out that he hadn't stolen the book to get rid of him, because he didn't like him that much either, and they wanted to test if the curse was true. And in the last scene, we found out that this curse exists in that classroom, because a teacher had ended the lives of all her students, and then she did the self-measurement, becoming the terrifying ghost, and how the story ends.